were before. We are now the Inquisition.
It's fair to say that after the disappointment of Dragon Age 2 and the controversy of Mass Effect 3's ending, Bioware were under a lot of pressure to deliver with Dragon Age Inquisition, and they didn't disappoint. Here's my in-depth look at the game. Dragon Age Inquisition is the third game in the franchise, and with the power of the Frostbite 3 engine behind it, it is undoubtedly the biggest and most ambitious Bioware game to date, and if it's an indicator of things to come, then the future for Bioware looks exciting. Players are able to explore the land of Thedas in 12 beautifully detailed locations. This is open world gaming at its finest. Dragon Age Inquisition is a visually stunning game. The landscapes are gorgeous and encompass a range of terrain, from magnificent castles and lush green forests to snow-capped mountains and desert wastelands. Players have complete freedom to explore these areas, whether on foot or on horseback. Each area is filled with character, history, and a plethora of activities to entertain them. Close rifts, solve connect-the-dot star charts, and collect special shards and artifacts for cool loot and bonuses. There is so much content here. Inquisition is a massive game. Having easily clocked a whopping 120 hours during my first playthrough, it might seem a tad intimidating for beginner RPG players, but the world and the lore are so chock full of character and life that the game never becomes boring or stagnant. If you're just focusing on the main story missions alone, you can complete the game in roughly 15 hours, which is still a good length. If you're a Dragon Age veteran, then you can transfer your choices easily using the Dragon Age Keep and see the impact they have on the world around you. For those of you new to the franchise, Bioware has included heaps of information on the lore and the people inhabiting Thedas. There is a lot to take in here, and if you want to get caught up, then the chances are you'll have to dedicate hours to reading through the Codex entries, but it's well worth it, and your experience will be richer for it. Though not as gripping as Dragon Age Origins, the story is far superior to Dragon Age 2 and feels epic and grand in scale. Here comes my army. I'm getting shivers. I'm getting shivers down my spine. This is how good this moment is. During the events of Dragon Age Inquisition, you play the role of the Inquisitor, someone that through events is thrust into a position of power and influence as you fight to save all of Thedas from the threat of the Rift, demons, and a villain bent on becoming a god. As you bring together an Inquisition made up of friends and allies, you make life or death choices and other decisions that shape the very future of Thedas as you tackle difficult questions like the Mage-Templar War, religion, and elven gods and myths. While the writing for the story is solid, I would say the writing for the Inquisitor's companions is far superior. There are 9 companions in total, and a number of familiar faces that reappear, including fan favourites like Varric, Hawke, Cassandra, Liliana, Cullen, and Morrigan. The new faces are also extremely well written and have compelling storylines and excellent voice acting. My favourite character was definitely Iron Bull, and Freddie Prinze Jr. did an excellent job in bringing his character to life, injecting a perfect amount of humour and gravitas when needed. Not to mention, some of Bull's romance scenes are hilarious.
So, what'd you want to talk about?
Sorry to disturb your rest, Inquisitor, but our Oh, sweet maker.
Cullen, how's it going?
Is the Inquisitor awake? I thought perhaps we... Oh.
This is actually,
I'm so sorry.
I cannot move my legs.
Is something the matter? Ah!
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Do you see this?
No.
Like all Bioware games, there are tons of choices to be made, especially at the beginning of the game. There are 4 races to choose from: human, elf, dwarf, and for the first time Qunari. You can choose to be male or female and customize your appearance with more options given if you're playing on the next gen or PC versions. Though it's odd and a shame that there are still so many limited hairstyle choices across all versions. The biggest decision you will make, however, is what class to play as. The three main classes of Rogue, Warrior and Mage are back, but this time they have definite separate subclasses rather than allowing you the option to throw skill points into whatever playstyle you want. Personally, I didn't like the decision to essentially split each class and often found it frustrating and limiting. Why was it not as easy to switch between an archer and dual-wielding rogue as it had been in Origins? Being unable to access the inventory during battle also limited the many options I was used to having. The combat in Dragon Age Inquisition is a mixture of the more action-oriented Dragon Age 2 and the more tactical Origins. Skills and abilities can still be mapped to quick buttons, making combat feel fluid and dynamic. The ability to roll or leap out of the way is also a nice addition that saved my ass from being singed on numerous occasions. The return of the tactical cam is also a wise one, adding a more strategic element to the game as you pause the action, study your enemy's weaknesses, place your allies in tactically advantageous positions, and watch your victory unfold. The use of the tactical cam proved beneficial on occasion, especially with some of the boss fights, though I often found myself not using it, as it can be tricky to master and the camera swings around in a disorientating fashion that can leave you feeling nauseous. Like in previous Dragon Age games, you can purchase weapons and armor from merchants or find them scattered in treasure chests. Though the variety of armor sets is still lacking in comparison to Origins, at least you can now customize your companion's armor and weapons using the revamped crafting system. Schematics and resources you collect throughout your journey allow you to craft some truly awesome and overpowered equipment, letting you increase damage and add status effect bonuses. The best part of Dragon Age Inquisition, though, has to be the dragon fights. There are 10 dragons that you can choose to take down, each with its own visual and fighting style. The dragon fights are both challenging and highly rewarding. Similar to the Witcher series, you can't just run in blindly and not expect to get your ass handed to you. They require some preparation, equipping the right armor or weapons, choosing your companions carefully, bringing the correct potions, and knowing the particular dragon's weaknesses. Some of the early dragon fights were long, drawn-out conflicts that went down to the wire, so when you take down your first fire-breathing dragon, boy is it a great feeling. Now, while there's a lot to say about Dragon Age Inquisition that is good, it's not a perfect game, and there were some things that bothered me. Firstly, the loading screens are way too long. Although Bioware at least provides a little reading material for us during some of these screens, these long loading times prove detrimental to the game, especially when placed between cutscenes, as they break up the flow of the story and pull you out of the moment. The ending of the game also felt very rushed, and the final boss fight was way too easy and very disappointing. The ending should have been similar to the end of Mass Effect 2 or even Dragon Age Origins. During the game, you build an army and make alliances and upgrade your stronghold, yet in the end, we don't see any of this come into play, and the stakes don't feel high enough. At no time do we feel like your Inquisitor or your companions are at risk. Most of them can't even join you in the final fight. It's an incredibly anticlimactic feeling that leaves us feeling unfulfilled and frustrated, as all of the hard work and choices made during the hours put in have no impact on the ending whatsoever. While not as bad as the what the fuck moment that was the end of Mass Effect 3, it does feel uncomfortably familiar and seems to be a trend that is common in a lot of AAA games released in the last year. Finally, no review would be complete without talking about the god-awful multiplayer attached to Inquisition. It feels so out of place. It's abundantly clear that this is simply a money-making scheme forced on Bioware by EA. The multiplayer is lazy. It consists of repetitive dungeon quest missions involving a fight through each area as you take down waves of enemies before moving on. There is a poor selection of maps, playable characters and enemies to start with, and the only way to expand on this is through future DLC and crafting armor sets to unlock new characters. It is so hard to find materials to craft in the multiplayer, and there is no ability to trade with friends, that should you want to unlock new characters, you'll be forced to cave in to the microtransactions rampant throughout and buy loot chests, the quality increasing depending on the amount of cash that you're willing to put down. Given the quality of the single-player experience, it is clear that the multiplayer was obviously an afterthought for Bioware, and this is clear in its lack of quality and content. Overall, Dragon Age Inquisition is a fantastic game. There's heaps of content and value for money. Like all Bioware games, there is a lot of replay value, and I for one can't wait to delve back into the role of the Inquisitor and try out different choices. Overall, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It doesn't get full marks due to the poor multiplayer and rushed ending, but still, Inquisition is a great game and a must-buy for any avid gamer.